The mission of the library's Motion Picture Broadcasting and Recorded Sound Division is to collect and preserve a representative cross-section of the motion pictures, television, radio, and sound recording that were produced since their inception. The main work that's done here in Washington, D.C. by our staff is to acquire all of the non-nitrate moving image materials that come into the division, as well as sound recording materials. By non-nitrate, I mean videotape and safety film, whether it's 16 millimeter or 35 millimeter, or the many formats of videotape and sound recording. This is the main processing center for the collection. That is, items are received, they're unpacked, they're examined, and they're sorted, and they're prepared for storage in our archival storage areas. In that we also create the basic inventory and cataloging records for these items so that they can be made available to the research community. We have many ways of acquiring things in our collections. The main way that we get things, that is film, video, and sound recordings in our collection, is through copyright deposit. The U.S. Copyright Office is part of the Library of Congress. And to register a work with the Copyright Office, there is a requirement that you send in one or more copies, depending on the nature of work, whether it's a motion picture or a sound recording, to send in copies to actually establish that registration. When the Copyright Office is done with those works, they are sent to the Motion Picture Broadcasting and Recorded Sound Division. We're the curatorial division for those works, and we keep them. The work to preserve America's audiovisual heritage is very labor intensive. The first work or effort that is made on this material is called physical processing. That's unpacking it, examining it, looking at it for preservation problems that might have to be solved before you can even play back or listen to or see what's on these formats. You have to find the correct machine. Many of those machines are obsolete. That may not have been any copies or any of these machines produced for 40 or 50 years, so you have to find a piece of equipment that you can play back these formats on and see what they're all about. The library's motion picture collection and television collection is largely available, but there is a large portion that is not available, and that is because they were collected on the original production formats. For example, for the Public Broadcasting System collection, PBS collection, we have something around, I think, amounting to 30,000 2-inch videotapes. Now this was the videotape used by the industry between from the early 1960s through the mid-1970s. Those all have to be copied to a modern videotape format so they can be accessible to researchers. The Library of Congress has become something of an equipment museum as well as an archive in which we collect the vast output of all these different broadcast and entertainment media. And so we're a hybrid institution. We're part library and part archive, and in a sense part museum, working museum of these old pieces of equipment that date back to the 19th century in some cases.
We are on what's referred to as Deck 50. I mean, you can see here we have several vaults all the way down this hall, and they're all full of videotape. Videotape has only been coming in for copyright, really started in the 1960s, and so we have a fair amount of 2-inch and 1-inch videotape in the collection, as well as all this 1/2-inch. 3/4 inch we received a lot of over the years. We have a couple of 100,000. VAA 0001, that's the very first 1/2-inch videotape that was cataloged by the library. Sure. Let's see what it is. It is Manny, an intermediate interview, the art of helping. The art of helping? That's good. I have no idea. But, there it is. Open reel half-inch videotape.
The very first one.
The very first one. It was cataloged by the library. Copyright 1974. They're just cataloged in the order that they were received. So each tape is given an alphanumeric number. You see on these boxes VAB and then 4 digits. V tells me that it's a videotape. A tells me it's a half-inch videotape. And then B is just what number in the sequence we're at. I mean, we're up into the VAJs.
Because so little has been saved by cultural institutions like archives or museums in general in the United States, the library has felt some pressure to sort of take more than it might otherwise take and preserve those materials, basically because so little is being saved elsewhere.
Washington has primarily curatorial responsibilities right now with regards to films. They store the films. They also provide access and reference services in Washington, D.C. If, for example, someone wants to view a film that's at the Library of Congress, they would go to Washington, D.C. to do that. If they want to make an inquiry of what our holdings are, that would be handled by the reference staff in our division in Washington, D.C.